grow clock.
But it's too late. Of the year.
Splendid.
A chief suspect is the eminent 87-year-old anatomist Sir Arthur Keith. At the time of the Piltdown discovery, Keith was curator of the Hunterian Museum at the Royal College of Surgeons. He had both the knowledge and ability to carry out the hoax. Viner is particularly suspicious of Keith's behavior once the Piltdown finds were announced. Keith claimed initially to be skeptical of the way the skull was reconstructed, but then switched, becoming a key advocate for the finds. He even published a book, The Antiquity of Man, in which Piltdown Man took center stage in the process of human evolution. Now, with the news out that the discovery was a hoax, Keith knows he will face tough questions about what took place in the small village of Piltdown almost 50 years ago. Society in London, Dawson and Smith Woodward unveiled their discovery.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for coming along to Burlington House this evening. May we present to you the Anthropus Dawsoni, the Piltdown Man.
The atmosphere in the room was charged with excitement. Here in England was tangible and incontrovertible proof of man's ape-like ancestry.
Areas of the skull that you see in brown are all excavated locally.
For years, scientists had been anticipating the discovery of the missing link in human evolution. A creature that possessed a large enough brain to house a superior intelligence, but which had not yet lost its ape-like jaw and fighting teeth. Piltdown Man confirmed these expectations.
So you can see, I think, marked differences between Piltdown Man and a normal human skull.
That the find was both authentic and of great antiquity was not questioned.
And when we look at the human jaw,
but there were some voices of dissent.
You can see a very marked difference there.
Arthur Keith, an anatomist from the Hunterian Museum, was unhappy with the way Woodward had reconstructed the skull from the fragments that he and Dawson had found. But the following summer, a decisive piece of evidence was unearthed. A single canine tooth was found close to the spot where the jaw had been discovered. Its shape, size, and the way it had been worn flat was exactly as Smith Woodward had predicted in his initial reconstruction of the Piltdown skull. Keith was forced to admit his mistake, and Piltdown Man, as presented at the Geological Society meeting, was widely accepted as accurate. In 1915, a group portrait was painted for the Royal Academy's annual exhibition. It symbolized the new unity of the scientists. Entitled A Discussion on the Piltdown Skull, it featured all those closely associated with the discovery. At the back, in front of a painting of Charles Darwin, is Charles Dawson. Next to him is Arthur Smith Woodward. And seated prominently at the front, examining the reconstructed skull, is the eminent anatomist Arthur Keith, now a powerful advocate in the defense of Piltdown Man. Today, less than 50 years later, as the news breaks that Piltdown Man was a hoax, Keith is the only scientist from the original group still alive. Dawson died soon after his great discovery in August 1916, aged just 52. The exact cause of his illness remains unknown. Smith Woodward continued his passionate support of Piltdown Man for 30 years, before his death of old age in September 1944. But Keith, now Sir Arthur Keith, has since enjoyed a long and illustrious career as a world-renowned anatomist. Now retired, he lives in the village of Down in Kent, where he is writing a biography of Charles Darwin. today, fragments were odorless, as you would expect with ancient fossils. But the jawbone gave off a distinctive smell of burning horn, a phenomenon common with fresh bone. Next, Oakley applied the Flourine test, the very latest technique for dating fossils, and a method which he had pioneered.
Flourine is a poisonous element, rather like chlorine, which is absorbed by bones from the water in soil or subsoil in which they are buried.
Put simply, the longer a bone is in the ground, the more Flourine it absorbs. While the skull fragments contained relatively high levels of Flourine, dating them as late Ice Age, the jawbone contained a minuscule amount. This confirmed Oakley's suspicion that the bone was modern.
Paint using bichromate potash.
I knew the jaw was stained. It was done to preserve it.
Staining bones with bichromate potash was not an accepted way of preserving bones, even in 1912.
Well, how had you learned of the chromate staining?
From Dawson. I had lots of correspondence from Dawson. Most of it, if not all of it, I destroyed in a bonfire many years ago.
We also tested the bones for
At the time,